How's it going, my Comic Chat Army? We're bringing you a Facebook and Instagram special with Brent Lengel, the creator of Snow White and the Zombie Apocalypse. How you doing, Brent?
I'm good. Though there's no and, it's just Snow White Zombie Apocalypse.
Right, sorry.
No, that's all right. Everybody does that. I think Scout
So,
actually did that once when they listed it.
I think they did too. That's where I think the and came from. So what gave you the inspiration for this book?
This was a lot of things. So this is an adaptation of the first play that I ever had produced in New York City. There was a 24-hour play competition called Fairy Tale Smackdown, done by a company called the New York Theater Experiment. And so they put out this writing prompt, and we're like, okay, you need to tell a story. It's got to be about fairy tales in some way. It's got to involve. Here's some things you can pick from to use. So like one of the things we could use was an apple. And so what we were supposed to do was write a 10-minute play. And then send it in, and they would select them and perform them. And all of this had to take place within 24 hours. So I wrote the play, sent them the play. They read it along with all the others, decided which ones they wanted to do, sent them out to their actors, and then the actors had to rehearse and perform the play. And writing this like lightning struck. We had just a wonderful response. People loved it. And some of the actors came up to me afterwards and were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This reads like something somebody who went to Yale wrote." And I'm like, "Oh yeah? Tell Yale about that," because they rejected me.
Oh, wow. Right. And you got number 2 coming out. What is the second part about? Is it continuous of the first book, or is this a whole new telling?
So the first book covers essentially everything in the first book covers everything in the first 10-minute play. But then after it first got produced, it got brought to the Estrogenius Festival, which is a celebration of female voices. I guess somebody saw me from behind, thought I was a chick. And they produced me back in 2010. And the short went on to, we won the Audience Choice Awards. We got an extended run. They brought us back for Best of Estro 5-7 years later. But because it had been such a success, what I did was I did an extended version of it, because the original play was called Snow White Zombie as the play on White Zombie. And then I added Snow White Zombie : Apocalypse for a 2-hour play that was in the New York International Fringe Festival in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the play the first book is essentially the first 10 minutes of a 2-hour play, and then this next book that I'm putting out, the next 44 pages will cover about. It's going to move a little faster. It'll cover up to about 50% in that play, and then there will be at least 2 more books to get me to the end of that original play that I wrote. Once that's done, I may continue the series, or we may just put it together in a trade and go, okay, done. It's really going to depend upon how much fun I'm having, how many artists want to work with me on it, and if the audience still likes it and people are still buying the comics.
All right, where can people pick up this book?
So at the moment, it's almost impossible to find because the stores that got it sold out instantly. And I was all like, wow, they sold out instantly. Have they reordered? And Brendan's like, one did. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I guess they thought it was a one-shot Halloween book and there was no reason to stock more. I was like, do you not like money?
Right.
So far, you may find it in a shop, but literally it's sold out in shops so fast. I'd be really surprised if anybody could find it on the shelves now. However, they can still special order it from Scout. Scout has a number of back issues of it. I'm hoping we go into a second printing too with the renewed inspiration, and they can get a signed copy if they give to the Kickstarter that I'm currently running. They got to do it in the next 33 hours. Because the Kickstarter is about to close, but they can get a signed copy of the first issue and the second issue.
Okay. Do you have any other books besides this one planned in the future?
I got a couple planned in the future. This is my first comic book that I've ever had published, by a major publisher. Ever. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thumbs up to you. It's a really good book. I've read it, by the way, guys, and I'll link the review somewhere. but it's a really good book. Y'all should pick it up.
Absolutely. I'm glad you liked it. It was a wonderful review. Thank you for doing that.
Oh,
So like I started out my career as a playwright. I've had 7 plays produced in New York City. And before this, I was actually most famous for writing the first play ever about the Appalachian Trail, because I'm an AT 2000 miler, which means I lived in the woods for 6 months and walked from Maine to Georgia. Yeah, one of the best things I ever did. Then I wrote a play about it. I was fairly famous for that. That's played twice in New York, once on 54th Street, which was amazing. We got great reviews. And then also, the other thing that I was really famous for is there's this band called the Cruxshadows, Crux Shadows. Check them out. They've actually beat out Madonna and Beyonce for the #1 dance hit in the world in 2005. They're phenomenal. And the lead singer and I are collaborating on a fantasy novel set in the afterlife that begins when the main character dies. And we have been reading parts of that novel at Dragon Con as official event since about 2014. We're hopefully almost done with a manuscript on the book, and we've got some publishers interested. So, we're going in that direction. Hey, you there, Cody? You froze on my end. You there?
yeah, I'm sorry. I've been having technical difficulties with this for a while. I'm sorry. No, you said the book was going to pick up in the afterlife?
Yeah, well, the book, so that's a novel that I'm writing, and I do want to do a graphic novel version of it. But yeah, it's called Afterall. You can Google it. It's between me and the lead singer of the Cruxshadows, and it begins when the main character dies. Like a young woman, 17 years old, dies in her sleep, wakes up to find out that the afterlife is real. Everything she believes about it is true, and also everything everyone else believes about it is true. It's all true in the same time in the same place. So it's this big sprawling fantasy world where like you can run into anybody from, I'm kind of pulling from Wizard of Oz a little bit. So she's meeting people that look like her friends in life, but one's like a famous knight from the Crusades, and another is the Norse god Odin, and the other is the Iliad's Cassandra. So like, yeah, it's a fun, yeah, I can see a smile in there. It's a super fun story.
It sounds fun now that, yeah.
So, I'm sorry. What were we gonna say?
If you need a reviewer, I might know a guy.
I'll hit you up for that, particularly for if and when we do a graphic novel version, because I know Rogue really wants to do one, and if we can get the right deal, maybe we'll put it out through Scout or something else. Obviously, that I can't speak. We've got to agree what we're doing with it together.
Right.
And Rogue is pretty damn famous, so he may have his own ideas of how he wants to do things. But I do know he's really interested in doing a comic book. But anyway, so there's that. As far as comic projects, I'm going to keep working on Snow White Zombie. I have another. So there was a web series I wrote a few years ago called NPCs, about the lives of non-player characters in role-playing games. It follows the young woman. She's like this hero of her own kind of Dragon Age style video game, and she's about to enter into the end game part of it, and she takes an arrow to the knee, loses her powers, and Skyrim. So she loses her powers, has to get a job selling potions to other more important heroes. I'm pulling a lot from my experience in retail for it. So we were going to do a web series about it, but it turned out web series were like crazy expensive, and so it got stuck in development hell for a little while. Fun fact, Felicia Day was considering doing it for a little while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If I ever get enough money, I might try to bring her back, actually, because she'd be perfect for it. So I was thinking about doing that as a Scout comic, and I've talked to a few artists, but I wanted to make sure that like Snow White Zombie was going before I tried to branch out into 2 issues. So Snow White Zombie is kind of horror fantasy comedy. This is just comedy fantasy.
I definitely got to read some more of your writing. I liked the first book, but everything you've told me so far, I definitely want to read.
Oh, well, yeah, you can check out my work. You can email me. Anybody who wants to read one of my plays can email me, and I'll send it to them, and they can go through that. Toss me some money on Patreon or whatever you think it's worth. I've got like monologues of mine have been traditionally published in certain volumes, so people can get those. And I've got a number of my plays up on the New Play Exchange, and I think those are pretty easy to access. When the novel is out, yeah, definitely get a copy because it's going to be amazing. We've been working on it for like 10 years, and it's very slow going, but it's some of the best work I've ever done. NPCs, hopefully we'll get the first issue out soon. I just got to find an artist and then run a successful Kickstarter and get the money that I need to actually make the book. But that one's going to be really fun. There's also I'm looking for an artist for this. This is a little further down the line, but there's two other things that I've written that I think would make great comic books. One is called Berserker. And this started out as a play, and I also wrote a screenplay version of it about so the year is 997. King Olaf Tryggvason has just been, this is real history, by the way. King Olaf Tryggvason has just taken the throne in Norway and been converted to Christianity, and he is waging a bloody war to convert the remaining pagan tribes to Christianity and therefore unify them under his rule. And to this end, he dispatches Thangbrand, who is a real guy, sort of a rambling, bar-brawling preacher, to Iceland to convert the Icelandic pagans. And Thangbrand's idea of witnessing the gospel of Jesus Christ, by the way, spoiler, is find a Viking, start a fight with him, murder him, therefore Jesus. Yeah, so it's real world history. In fact, one of the great romantic poets, I think it was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, wrote a poem about Thangbrand, and like. It's a crazy history where this village that is threatened by Thangbrand creates a berserker, and it's this big kind of world of gods and men with huge like religious questions and lots of grim, frostbitten, just a little bit metal.
Nice, you're very interesting. So you've said a lot. All right, we're gonna chill out on the comic book real quick. Tell me about this walk that you done for 6 months was it just through the woods? Like, I've got questions. Like, of course you carried a tent and everything that you need, but how did you feed yourself?
Oh, okay. So that is the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail is an unbroken wilderness footpath that starts at Springer Mountain in Georgia and runs north through 14 different states and ends at Katahdin in northern Maine. It is about 2,200 miles long, and every year about 2,000 or so, 2,000 to 6,000 people attempt to walk it in its entirety unbroken. Those people are called thru hikers. Now, I'm a thru hiker, though I did it a little non-traditionally. I did it over like 2 years, and it was a combined, like I did a large section, went like 600 miles. I walked from Gatlinburg, Tennessee to Waynesboro, Virginia, called my mom, said, "Mom, I'm not going to go back to college. I'm going to finish the Appalachian Trail." She said, "Absolutely not." So I finished out my final semester of college, worked for a little while, and then like in 2007 to 2008, because I remember it was right before Barack Obama got elected. And I hiked from Waynesboro, Virginia to Katahdin, then went south, and then did the final couple hundred miles going from just north of Gatlinburg all the way down to Springer Mountain. So I got to summit with the northbounders and the southbounders. I got like both experiences, because some people start north and go south, some people start south and go north. You carry everything you carry everything on your back. I had a tent. There's also shelters set up along the way. You can buy food in towns. You come to a town every, 5 to 7 days or so and can resupply, or you can send yourself mail drops and pick them up in the mailboxes. It's just a really amazing thing to do, because like you meet all these cool people, you get a completely new idea about what walking distance is, and you see amazing things every day. And every day there's just like you have so much purpose. Like your purpose is to walk. And it doesn't matter how far you walk. It just matters that you walk and that you keep going. And then eventually, you've pretty much walked the entire seaboard of the continental United States.
All right, is there like a path cut out, or is it just walking through the woods?
Oh no, it's a path cut out.
Okay.
So yeah, they have the path it was created just after World War II, and it's created and maintained by trail clubs. So like it's literally like an unbroken footpath with white blazes on the trees the entire way. So you just follow the white blazes, and eventually you get to Maine.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing at all. Like that's very interesting.
Yeah, if you can look up, there's a book called Walking with Spring. It was written by the first guy to ever hike the Appalachian Trail, Maine to Georgia. His name's Earl Schaefer. You can look up that book. There's a number of others. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy is the national nonprofit that oversees it. They've actually sponsored my play, which kind of made it like the play about the Appalachian Trail. But yeah, check them out. They're a great charity. They do amazing work. And like depending upon the state that you're in, if you're on the East Coast, it's very likely you're fairly close to the Appalachian Trail.
All right, yeah, I know about the Appalachian Trail, but I didn't know you could walk it. That's pretty cool. Trying to think. Did you said you wrote plays, but was you ever in a play, you said?
Oh, yeah. I've been in plays, too. Yeah, I trained as an actor in college. That's actually kind of where I learned to write characters, and I'm a much better writer than I ever was an actor, though I like acting. It's fun. I don't like rehearsals.
Right.
I don't like memorizing lines. I like just coming up with what I want on the fly, which drives directors crazy. Yeah, no, I've been in a number of plays. I was John Proctor in The Crucible, and like a local production after I had come back from the Appalachian Trail, which was really fun. I played one of the main characters in a play called The Little Dog Laughed by Douglas Carter Bean. And that one was fun because I got naked on stage, and I was in really good shape at the time, so I felt good about it.
Nice. So what's your do's and don'ts about acting you could give to somebody that's watching this that wants to go into acting?
To acting?
Yeah. Or writing.
Acting, writing. Well, let's do writing since we're kind of, I want to get people as interested in the books, though. Like if people do want to hear tips on acting from me, they can, in the Kickstarter, there's actually professional mentorship services they can buy at different levels, and I can definitely help people with acting, though there may be better acting teachers to go to. As far as like writing and character, and this all kind of goes down to the same basic skill set, I think the most important thing to really, when you are working with a character, what you really need to activate is your empathy. You need to put yourself in the character's shoes. And that can sound very elementary, but you oftentimes will see so many writers and so many actors fail to adequately do that. And when they do, it's very obvious to an audience. Like if you ever see you're watching like a movie and then suddenly it seems like the characters are just doing shit because the writer wants them to, like last season of Game of Thrones, perfect example where people are like, Danny wouldn't do that. It's because the writers have become disentangled from the characters and they are no longer empathizing with them, and they're seeing them more like little pieces to move around to tell the overall story that they want to do. And I really believe that storytelling structure is really important, themes are really important, but the absolute core of storytelling is character, because everybody's a person and the people in the stories are what we relate to most. So you need to really just dive into your characters. Remember that they are not you, but also you're not totally writing or playing someone else. You're essentially writing or playing someone else. You're playing yourself under different circumstances. So, and that way you can get much more realistic reactions from them. Like in Swaza, one of the things that actors love about it, and that I really love about it, is like the interplay you have between Rapunzel and Snow White. I mean, and to an extent also, Prince Charming. But the thing is that these two characters, Rapunzel and Snow White, see the world in very radically different ways. And because they do, they would hate each other to a certain extent, like even if they never met. And that's really what you want to build to, is to where essentially character conflict comes from people missing each other because they're on different wavelengths. And when you do that, things can be extremely dramatic and really, really funny if you do it just right.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap up the interview. Do you got any shout outs?
Yeah, I mean, the shout outs that I do right now, obviously Snow White Zombie Kickstarter. You just Google that on Kickstarter, grab the book. There's a ton of great rewards, including I work as a wilderness guide, so you can actually buy a trip to Iceland through the Icelandic wilderness through my Kickstarter. It's a lot of money, but yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's life-changing, and I guarantee it. I take 3 people, and it's $6,000 now, discounted. As so, like, you get 2 friends, you each throw in $2,000. Like, people spend more than that on a vacation, and I'll tell you what, it'll change your life. The other things, the other shout-outs I can give you, obviously my artist Hyondo in the first, and my artist Luana Vecchio in the second. They are absolutely incredible. Brian Silverbacks has done some great covers and posters for us. I can't sing that guy's praises enough. I love his art, and he's a great guy. And then the other one, it would be Geo Butler, my colorist for the first issue. She really did an incredible job, so people should really be paying a lot of attention to her. Final thing I'd say is, check out the Cruxshadows. It's a band that I've loved for years, and I'm lucky enough to be working with them. And they sound like no band you've ever heard. Like, imagine Lady Gaga, but Lady Gaga's a guy fronting a mostly girl goth band singing about like angels in Greek mythology.
Huh. I might check that out myself.
Definitely do. And Rogue is a total genius, and like I'm humbled to work with him. So yeah, that's it. And thanks very much. I hope the interview helps people, and check out the Kickstarter.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.